Hello and welcome to the Turn 4 podcast. I am your host, Dan Maldonado. If this is your first time listening, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Tim Reiner. Hey, Timmy.
Hello, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
I have another reveal today, of course, to go along with the weekend of racing. We had a great weekend of racing.
Oh my gosh. So many events. It was so good. Too much to watch.
Yeah, totally agree. So, hey, we attempt to give you a fan's perspective on IndyCar racing. Tonight, we're going to discuss the Xpel 375 at Texas, as well as F1. We have a couple of lines on IMSA and maybe a couple of more lines on NASCAR. But before we get further into this thing, Tim's trying to figure out why it is that I have not started my video for those that watch on YouTube. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah, babe.
You have the cowboy hat and the Ferrari jersey on.
And the Ferrari jersey. Do you know why this is significant to me? Well, Texas Motor Speedway, Formula One this weekend, right?
Yes.
But even more so, where did I get all this?
In Austin, right?
Yes. And where did we decide to take the production in the fall?
To Austin.
Yes.
To the Grand Prix to go check it out.
I'm so excited.
So you put it all together for the show.
Yes,
and you're taking the hat off? Or you're going to leave it on?
I'm taking the hat off. Well, because, you know, my chair that you like to make fun of, right? You call it the dentist chair. The hat doesn't really work with the chair.
That is true.
So I got to take the hat off. And thankfully,
the headrest is way too high.
Yeah. And thankfully, I have Elio Castroneves hair. So taking the hat off doesn't really do anything to my hair at all.
Oh my gosh, you do.
Yeah, there you
never noticed.
Hey, real quick before we get into this, we got a good show today too. We got lots to talk about. So I just want to get a quick shout out to our friend from Sweden, Christian. Thanks, Christian, for being one of our earliest and devoted listeners. I hope you enjoyed the packed weekend of motorsports. So moving along, Tim, you found a couple of interesting nuggets on social media last week. Let's give the
did, but I was expecting
to
some Penske gear out of you because I know you're a big Penske fan, and here you show up with Ferrari and the hat. But I guess it's kind of dual because Ferrari obviously won the Formula One race in Bahrain, and then Texas was this weekend with the cowboy hat. But
yeah, I love my cowboy.
Said you had to take it off. So, is there any Penske stuff near that you can show?
I don't have any Penske gear.
All right.
Not anymore. The only Penske gear I have is that license plate frame on my car.
All right. That's it, huh?
Yep.
Interesting. All right. So we're going to get into some stuff I saw on Twitter. And so that's how we're going to kick this show off today.
Kick it off, babe.
All right. So let's kick it. So I thought there was a few interesting things. One being Mario Andretti replying to Champ Web on Twitter when asked, and I'm paraphrasing this, right? This is not word for word. Which one aspect of early 90s would you want to bring back to the series today? And his response was very interesting to me. We're doing things better today than in the 90s. I wouldn't look back. Dan, I'm a little baffled by this.
Me too.
And I had several days to sort of digest it, and I'm still baffled at it. And here's why. I believe as fans, right? We're fans of the show, that there are many things you can look back at and apply to the series. And I think the biggest thing that we're missing out in today's series is technology, innovation, and cutting edge development of chassis, engines, the likes, everything that goes along with that. So is Mario trying to say that it's better than the 90s? And if it is IndyCar's response? Because I don't think it is. Do you think it is?
I'm just as baffled by this as you are, because I think there's a lot from those 90s champ car era, kart era that are fantastic, right? The multiple chassis, the multiple engines, the technology that goes into that. I think those are the things that made the series spectacular back in that day, which we don't have today. And it's not to say the series isn't spectacular. It's really good. I think the racing is good here. I think you can find a winner up and down the grid at any given Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
from that perspective, maybe it's a little bit different than what it was in the 90s. But, somebody like Mario Andretti, I don't know how you can argue with it, but I guess it demands a follow-up question. I don't know it was Champ Web that tweeted that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
don't know
as
either.
confused by that.
I was, and I thought it would like sink in and I'd have this realization that, yeah, there's not much else you can pull from the 90s, but I think there is. And that sort of gets me to my next Twitter post that I saw, and I didn't take a good screenshot of it on my phone. So they posted the Texas Motor Speedway Saturday practice from April of 2001.
This is the blackout race, right? That didn't happen because drivers were blacking out during practice because they were going so fast.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. But if you look at that, this is the days of CART, FedEx. The top three in that early practice session on that Saturday were Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan, and Max Pappas.
Mad Max, friend of the show.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And looking down that chart, two things kind of stuck out to me. One was the raw speed, and to your point, it was the blackout, like they were going way too fast. 236 miles an hour, almost 237. But when you look down the ranking, you had multiple engines, chassis manufacturers, the likes of Honda, Ford, Toyota. You had the Renard, you had the Lola. So this leads me back to technology and everything else. And I think this is the stuff you could bring back. Obviously, maybe not those crazy speeds, but if you bring back innovation, I think it's really good stuff that we should be looking at and the series should be looking at. And I think that's what fans want today. And there were some responses to this that were, yeah, if you bring multiple chassis, the powerhouse teams will have the best chassis. The other teams will not have the dominant chassis. But when you look at that time chart, those chassis were mixed throughout that entire practice session. So I think and we've talked about this, right? With the engines being delayed a little bit, maybe there needs to be another chassis development, not another, but a new chassis. But I think there needs to be multiple chassis.
Yeah.
And that's what I had. That's what I saw on Twitter.
I agree. We'll have to put a pin in it because we don't need to get derailed on this, but we have to do a show where we talk about who are the powerhouse teams.
We will.
Because you and I disagree.
There's been a lot of debate at the end of last season of who they are. And I think it's kind of all gotten shaken up a little bit this year with the exception of two teams.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Okay.
For another show. Hey, so you said raw speed 230, the speed was 236.678 miles an hour. That's fast.
That's what I wrote down.
These guys are so blacking out. The fastest lap at Texas yesterday was 220.661 by Pato O'Ward, lap 63.
Wow.
That's a pretty dramatic change.
Yeah.
220 miles an hour is fast.
Oh, yeah.
Difference between 220 and 236 is they're holding on to the steering wheel, and 236 they're blacking out.
Yep.
So we had some projected polls last week when we did the race preview. Now that this is the review, we have to look at where we're at. I said Will Power would be on pole. You said Alexander Rossi. Actual was Felix Rosenquist, which is good on Felix because I hate all of the open talk about how in jeopardy maybe his seat is at Arrow McLaren this year. So good for him. I'm glad to see that is. Anyway, I was closer, so I win that one. I picked Power. He was in 4th. Rossi was in 12th.
You won that? Good job.
I won that. Projected winner, Will Power. You had Scott Dixon. I win this one too. Even though Joseph Newgarden won, I was closer. Will Power 4th, Scott Dixon 5th. So good job by
Dan. Yeah, but Dan, you just got to look at the fantasy leaderboard and we'll see who's got better predictions. That's what you got to do, because if you look at that and you look at the race in Texas, who won that out of all of us that are in it?
Yep.
Turn 4 Tim.
Turn 4 Tim.
Myself, Turn 4 Tim. I won that, and I am leading the series.
Yes,
followed by Team Yellow S200, I believe it is.
That's 2000.
2000. I missed a 0 on there.
That's Mark. That's our YouTube super fan Mark.
Okay. Then you.
Yep.
Mr. Chili Pepper.
Yep.
Then Yucca, and then we had a couple that decided not to pick drivers. So Biscuit and Scotty Rides. You might want to do your picks next week.
Oh yeah,
2
they
weeks,
fell
3
back.
weeks.
So
yeah.
I had Rossi,
but
as part of my picks, and that was where I struggled. I lucked into Ferrucci being in there as a pick with his subbing opportunity there. So
I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
So all right, well, good job, Timmy. Hey,
yeah, I'm leading, by the way. I'm leading.
Yes,
I like to win.
You are.
I'm leading.
Good job.
Okay.
Good job on that. Hey, Team Penske, as we talked about, Team Penske is back. They had an up and down season last year, and also last year, very un-Penske-like Indy 500. But they ran strong all day yesterday at Texas. They had a great race, delivering the 600th win for Roger Penske and his organization. I don't remember 2, 3, 4, and 5 in there, but I remember 100. Do you remember who got the 100th win for the Penske organization and where it was at?
No.
You didn't look at it? Okay, I thank you for not looking it up. It's Gilles de Ferran at your favorite track, Nazareth.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
That was 100, and
that's pretty cool.
I was trying to dig that out of the trunk because
that's 500 wins ago.
Yes, can you believe that?
Wow.
I do have a picture
across all series
from that. My brother worked for Marlboro at the time, so he had a signed Gilles de Ferran picture from right around that time. I was looking for it today, I couldn't find it. So
and a carton of smokes to go with it.
Newgarden first. He led 3 laps. Didn't really matter because he led the final few yards. That really mattered. Scott McLaughlin, stuck for him. He finished second, but still, to me, sucked for him because he led 186 laps and seemed to have this thing in hand. He could put the car wherever he wanted it. He really had a great day. Just lost it right at the end there. Maybe that was a little bit of the track coming in with a little higher line. Maybe it was a little bit coming in with a teammate who has a lot more experience on ovals than Scott McLaughlin. So, but good for him. 4th place. Will Power, Will finished what the car gave him, which is all you can ask for, right? When you're in a championship hunt. True. And again, I know I keep coming back to this, and maybe it means absolutely nothing, but I like the body language on Will Power. I've been saying that all along. I like the body language on Will Power yesterday in that 4th place win. He got what he was getting out of that car yesterday. So good for him. So
you said that they're back.
Yeah.
They're not back. They've always been there, man.
They had a tough.
They finished second in the championship last year. It was it was very inconsistent from Penske, and Penske is always consistent. So yes, that matter of fact, but they were strong. And it's not only Team Penske, it's the Chevrolets.
Yes.
I think the Chevrolets are very strong. I think they've got their fuel mileage figured out. They're going to be tough to beat this year. So anybody that's driving a Chevy, Honda's got some work to do, in my opinion, looking from the outside in. And Indy could be, Honda's going to be, if we didn't pick a Honda, or if we didn't pick a Chevy to win that race, we might be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, you know who my Indy 500 pick is? It's not a Chevy driver.
I do. I know.
We'll get there.
I can't believe that's your pick.
At some point. Moving on to,
but that lap, we got it. That last lap pass, last corner. Did you feel it coming?
No. I thought Scott was going to be able to hold that off with the traffic and, pick up the draft from the traffic. So I thought it was going to come down to one of these, 1/10 of a thousandths, that it was going to be one of those, but it just didn't. I'm surprised at the run that Newgarden got on Scott there at the end. He came hard, and there was nothing for him to do about it. You can't go up. You can't go up on your teammate. You can't do that. And you can't do that at those speeds. So, it was good, clean finish, good, clean race. Kudos to Joseph Newgarden. He put his car right where it needed to be. He was smart all day long, did everything he could, and delivered a fantastic result.
But in watching that throughout that race, I could tell that when the leader got out front, he was backing off just a little bit to save some fuel, right? Whoever the leader was at the time. But I could see, and then at times they were all in it, but the cars that were behind, I could tell they were getting a really good tow,
Mhm.
and they were backing out of it quite a bit. So I wasn't, from my perspective, I wasn't surprised to see a pass attempt, and it was a very clean pass attempt because we know that
Very.
there's not a whole lot of racing line there. 1.5 grooves, if you will, maybe 2, if you want to call it 2. But we know there's not 3. But
Right.
I thought,
We know there's not 3, Devlin. Anyway, go ahead.
yes, we know there's not 3. But so I thought it was going to happen sooner. I was surprised it was that late in that stint to the checkered flag that pass happened, but
Yeah.
it didn't surprise me. I was expecting a little bit of battle. But then the thing that comes into my head is, because we watch Formula One, there's a lot of team orders, and I don't know if you're like, whoa, let's just.
Yeah.
I know typically there's not, but when you have a track that has a line that has a lot less grip than the rest of the track, you wonder if there's some talking to your drivers just to say, hey, you got to be very careful if you're making that move.
I always get the sense in IndyCar, the only team orders that they get is don't crash your teammate.
Well,
Crash whoever you want.
To be careful going
crash
by.
your teammate. Yeah, especially there.
Yeah, but I really like the embrace after the race by
Mhm.
the first and second place drivers. So that was good to see.
And I love to see all the drivers there in victory lane, right? Celebrating with Roger and the 600th win, and everybody seemed genuinely happy, with that. That's
Mhm.
always good to see. It's always good to see.
Yep.
You want to beat your teammate because, like in Formula One, right? It's like equipment. It's like equipment,
Yep.
even though this is kind of a spec series. It's
Yep.
like equipment, so you want to beat your teammate first. But if you can't, and your teammate takes the win, I think you can celebrate with the team.
Yeah.
Yep. Ganassi, solid race from Chip Ganassi throughout the organization. And you know where I'm going with this. So 3rd place, Marcus Erickson, great job. He drove from 14th to finish 3rd. He led 10 laps. Good for him. I'm a fan. 5th place, Scott Dixon, solid race from Dixie, started and finished 5th. So he got everything he could out of that car. 6th place, Jimmy Johnson, ladies and gentlemen.
Mhm.
Finally, right? This is what everybody's been waiting for on this thing.
Yep.
Tim,
Totally.
Yes. Does this mean that Jimmy is an oval specialist, but he'll continue to struggle on the road and street? Or do you think this is the shot in the arm he needs to go to Long Beach and really, really put it in? Think he's got it?
I would wait for another good result until Indianapolis. I don't anticipate him being way up front in Long Beach. I hope that I am wrong.
Me too.
But that's not my anticipation based on what we've seen throughout the rest of the races he's been in, which are road and street courses.
Yep.
But
Alex Palou finishes 7th. Hold on, because I know where you're going with this, and I'm gonna tag along to it. Alex Palou finishes 7th. Quiet day for the defending champ. Didn't hear much, but that's okay sometimes. Like we talked about, like we had some comments in the YouTube. Palou is there, sometimes not with great fanfare or great, announcement, but he's always there. He's always going to be there. He's getting everything he can out of that car. I want to say this. I am happy for Jimmy Johnson. I'm not a Jimmy hater. Okay. And I know I've been hard on Jimmy, but I just want to say I'm happy for him. This finish is great. I don't think it's a precursor to greatness at Indianapolis, because that track race is different. Okay. But I think I was thinking about it earlier today, and I think the reason why I note it with Jimmy more than anybody else is because nobody else would get that length of leash with those results.
No, nobody at all. But you're a 7-time NASCAR champion, so that's
he brings
the leash.
He brings viewers,
and you got a great sponsor that's coming with him too,
and he brings that too. So
and he's a great personality.
Great,
and he's got a wonderful family, and it's just like the great American story there, I guess. So and he sells tickets, and if he sells tickets, you're king.
Yes,
totally. I think Besides, so Chip Ganassi Racing, besides Jimmy Johnson, who did awesome, right? Besides Jimmy Johnson, I'm super happy for Marcus Erickson.
Me too.
He led that team
Mhm.
and he stayed out of trouble all day. Didn't really have a shot to win it. I don't think they sort of had the car, but not the car. They didn't have a Chevy power plant is what I'm sort of alluding
Right.
to here.
Yep.
But they had a good setup for the race and all of them came through. You have all of your drivers in the top 7. That's really good.
It's a great day.
I know Penske did better with their 3 drivers, but you've got one extra driver to bring along in that Ganassi stable.
Yeah. Marcus Erickson, just to kind of underscore that, what you're saying is he's a European road racer. He came to IndyCar from a European road racing background, but he did not come here and say, I won't run the ovals. He came and ran the ovals. And, so far, so good. I mean, he's making his mark in a good team, and he's getting everything he can out of that car. And he's driving a very Ganassi-like way, right? Getting every point that he can, maximizing every opportunity he can. And he's posting wins, and he's right there in the conversation. He's right there in the mix every time.
Husky Chocolate's got to be happy. The sponsor's got to be happy with what he's doing.
Husky Chocolate Chip Ganassi Delara. I like saying that. Neither one of us have him in our top 10, by the way.
Love it. Oh,
Andretti, not an ideal weekend.
Can I ask a question before you get into Andretti?
Sure.
Why are they next?
Because they have Herta, who's I don't know. Did I mix up the order?
Yeah, I think you should be on Simon Pagino and Meyer Shank right now.
Shank.
And then you got to go to Rahal.
I can skip
and then
up
you got to
Shank.
go to Ed Carpenter.
I do?
And then I think you can get to Andretti.
All right.
But let's do it. Let's do it out of order today.
No. Let's call it what it is. I will tell you why it's in order like this. So when I start putting our notes together, this is compelling podcasting. When I start pulling the notes together, I start with the top teams, right? Penske.
Oh, wait a minute. We just
stop. We'll put a pin in it. We'll talk about it.
No. We were just talking about we need to debate who the top teams are.
Andretti, and I start going down the line from there. And then as the race results happen, or as they begin to look like they're happening, I start cutting and pasting and putting everybody in order. So that's where I'm at. No, I'm going in order. Shank is next. I don't have much to say about Shank. Mixed results here showing Pagino had a great race. Elio got caught up in DeFrancesco's dive bomb, which we'll talk about when we get to Andretti. 8th place for Pagino, 23rd for Castroneves.
I think they could have had a much better day with Elio if that incident didn't happen. Yeah. So
totally
up in the mix. Totally up in the mix.
Totally
it's mixed results, not due to their own performance. It's based on something else that happened on track.
Yep.
But again, it's a Chevy team. No, it's not.
It is a Chevy.
It's a Honda team.
No. Yeah, Shank is a Honda team. And they're Andretti satellite team.
Yep. I'm wrong.
Yep. Not an Andretti satellite team. They've got a technical alliance?
Engineering alliance.
Yeah. What I'm not wrong about is who's next, and that's Rahal. And we're going to park down here for a little bit, right? So qualifying is still a mess at Rahal. Don't know what's happening there with that. Expected better things this year. Don't know what was happening in morning warm-up Saturday with Jack particularly, right? And he was way down on the sheets and he was way down on speed. Okay. Mm-hmm. So of course that translated to what we saw in qualifying, which was Jack, Christian, and Graham, 24, 25, and 27 respectively, right? This is a huge problem for this team. Huge problem for this team. It's only 2 races into the season. I understand that. Okay. But it doesn't look like the qualifying problems from the past several seasons have been sorted. And Jack had a big crash on Saturday. Big crash, right? Cracked the tub, had to roll out the backup car, which was the IMS car, right? The Indianapolis car, that's not the thing you want to be messing around with prior to Indianapolis. Top that off with having to press Ferrucci into service on short notice, right? He lives in the area apparently, because Jack failed protocol Sunday morning, which presumably that's IndyCar speak for concussion protocol, right?
Yep.
Concussion's nothing to fool with. You know, first and foremost, we wish Jack a full and speedy recovery for that. Concussion's no joke. Look at Dario Franchitti and his career, Dale Jr. and his career, right? Concussions play a significant part in where they're at. So we got to park here for a minute. All right. You expected Ferrucci to be in this car. Jack's had 2 crashes in 2 races to start this season. It's not unusual for a fan to start second guessing this decision to put Jack in there and not Ferrucci. I feel it's too early for that. Okay. But you and I disagree on this. So we're going to talk about it because it's our show, right? There's a reason why Jack is in that car and not Ferrucci. Despite Ferrucci's pace and results in the occasional third car with Rahal over the last, let's call it last season, right? They went with Jack. Think about it for a second. Okay. Here's where I'm coming from. Bobby Rahal, probably Graham, Mike Lanigan, maybe a little David Letterman in there too, chose Jack, not Ferrucci. Okay. There's a reason. Ferrucci has had some character issues, probably maturity issues in the past. I, of course, don't know him, never met him. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay. I'm willing to assume positive intent, but that's what it is. Okay. I will also say, I don't think it's a financial decision because there's nothing about Hy-Vee coming into IndyCar this year that would suggest they're not all in on that. And that third car, however you want to call it, the second car, the third car was fully funded, which means the driver that got in there on merit and not because of a budget. They chose Jack
define merit
for
as
a reason. Earned it. Earned the right to be in that car. Capable driver, upside potential, whatever it is. Go ahead. Lay it on.
You got a question? You just want me to voice my opinion on this?
What's your opinion on it? This is all my opinion, right? Jack was the better candidate
that you got going on there.
Yeah.
And this is probably the unpopular opinion, but I believe Ferrucci should have a full-time ride with somebody this year. He goes out every time, puts in great efforts, and shows up with great results. Now, I personally haven't witnessed this other side of Ferrucci, we'll call it. I don't know what it is, where there's issues in how behavior, whatever it might be. And I'm happy to see Ferrucci in the car. I don't want to see him in a car because someone else gets hurt. That's not what I want to see, but he deserves to be in the series. He can drive just about anything. And I can compare him to Kyle Larson, right? Can drive just about anything, put in great results. He's earned a spot in the series, and someone needs to pony up and put him in a car. And I'm suggesting if Penske was to run a 4th car at Indianapolis, put him in the car, and I will change the winner prediction that I've done before. I'll change it. It won't be Ferrucci, but I'll change it.
Okay.
I just think he's a great talent. He's saying all the right stuff. Seems
There's a
to
reason
really
why somebody didn't want
the sponsors
to take a chance on him.
Well, I don't know if
In
the
2
decision
series
you named off.
he had
Hold
NASCAR
on. So hold on.
that he's gone
You
to,
named off.
no full-time ride, and he's got IndyCar, no full-time ride. Mike Shank put Simon Pagenaud in that car after Jack left. There's an availability there.
Well, Simon Pagino comes with a long track record of having good results. So
So does Ferrucci last year, and he's young.
I know. I'm with you. But I don't know if the decision was unanimous because you named off a lot of people.
The owners. Rahal,
You think
Letterman,
it was
Lanigan.
unanimous?
Had to be.
I don't know.
Even if it's not.
Is.
It right, 2-1.
It turned into, yeah.
Right.
I feel like he should be in a seat. If I had a team, I'd put him in the car.
There's a
I'd
reason
take my
why
chances.
he's not in that car. Think about it. There's no, on paper, he's your driver. Every time, all the time. On paper, he's your driver every time, all the time.
Yeah.
And then when we do the reveal, oh, this guy? No.
Yeah. His results were fantastic.
Fantastic results. Finished 9th. Right?
I know.
Finished 9th. Makes you wonder if, right, he finished 9th, Lundgaard 19th, contact, out. Rahal, contact, out, 22nd. Makes you wonder if Rahal hadn't had contact, where he would have been at the end there. Makes you wonder where Jack would have been. Would Jack have finished 9th? You don't know. But it makes you wonder, right? Where that team that qualifying's a mess. Okay. Where Graham would have been, where Jack would have been, and Ferrucci kept it clean. He's Tim.
Yeah, and what do you think?
Nobody. I don't doubt the guy's talent whatsoever. I don't doubt his talent whatsoever. He got booted out of Formula 2 or 3 or whatever it was he was racing in.
Yeah,
that's where it started, and nobody has given him a chance here. Nobody has given him a chance here. He was young, but there's still something in him that people look at. They're still not willing to take a chance in a $4, $5, $6 million investment.
So I watched a little bit of Drive to Survive, and some of those young drivers are head cases. Like, they're all over the place. I can't imagine that it's any different than Ferrucci could have been or was or what have you. But I think from what I've seen in the last couple of years, watching him race and seeing his interviews, he's matured, and somebody needs to give him a chance, full-time chance. Because he will do the sponsor well. He will have great results, and he will be in the hunt for the championship as long as he's with the top team. No doubt.
Yep. Well, he's going to get a chance at Indy because he's signed up with Dry Ramble. So to partner with Sage Karam there. So we'll see how he does. No doubt talent, Tim. I never doubted the kid's talent whatsoever.
Have him.
No. Dude, if Rahal didn't hire him or Shank didn't hire him, do you think Roger Penske's going to put him in one of his cars? With the button-down shirts and the black pants and the sport coats to all the sponsorship events? No.
Anybody can play the role, I think. You just got to be willing to do it.
Bingo. Bingo.
I've not seen anything to indicate he's not willing to do it.
Bingo.
But who am I?
But we're not insiders. We're just fans.
I know.
Right. So that's that. We'll see. Right. We'll see what happens.
He led the team. I'm sure the team orders were just don't wreck the car.
Crash the car.
Do the best you can. Just don't wreck the car.
Yep.
He's like, all right, cool.
Finish
ninth.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So Carpenter, stellar day by VK, finished 10th. Seemed to struggle with high tire wear over the stint, and that of course impacts the performance of the car. VK finished 10th. Carpenter finished 13th. Uneventful race for the boss, really, and which is a good thing because I think his last outing was, Gateway last year at the Welcome Back Ed, crash in that situation. And then Daly, 18th, had a pit limit or pit limiter issue, and he had to serve some penalty for that. So, on an oval, you're going to get a lap behind at least very quickly. And unless you get a lot of yellow or you get some pretty serious strategy there, you're just not going to get that back. So he finished 3 laps behind. So 3 laps down on that.
And VK 7th in the championship.
Yeah.
He's doing well. And he's the first non-Ganassi or non-Penske driver in the championship.
Chevy.
Correct.
Yes.
Very interesting.
Yes. So
it's a common theme with the Chevy power plant.
It's the
done
Chevy
it right.
Show. Yep.
It
Coin,
is.
Yeah. Coin. Sato was making his 200th start. He looked good. Looked pretty strong right out of the gate. Racing with Defrancesco, which we'll get to them when we get to Andretti's actual order spot. Ran a little high, got into him there, finished that race. David Malukas, strong, 11th. Strong finish for the rookie. He led 3 laps on strategy. Strong day there. He is my rookie of the year. And I think, and I'm starting to question that, of course, because we'll get into it, but he is my rookie of the year. He had a great finish. So good for him. Sato finished 20th. Now we get to go back to Andretti. Go ahead.
But let's talk about Sato a little bit. He was running 3rd early in the race, looking really strong. I was rooting on the purple colors. I was like, let's go, Sato. Let's do this. And if it wasn't for their pit implosion, I'll call it, where they came out back in the field, he would have been up in the front, would have never been involved with Devlin in that incident. So some of that goes to the team and making sure you're executing in the pits, every single pit stop, to not put your driver in a spot that he could get caught up with something. So Sato still got it, man, at 40, whatever he is.
He does.
Good for him.
Go big or go home, right? This is what we said last week.
Yeah. And he's been through so many teams, so many engineers, and he still produces.
Just get in and drive the car. Well. Don't complain.
Who does it remind you of? Doesn't have a ride. Just get in and drive the car. Ferrucci. I'll answer my own question. All right.
Well, because I was trying to think of somebody to put in there, but I couldn't think. I know where you're going with it. Andretti. Now back to Andretti, right? Not an ideal weekend for Andretti Autosport. Rossi out before it really got started. I mean, he did take the green flag, but it's right. It was over before it started. Grosjean had a mechanical issue, as did Rossi. DeFrancesco, he rolled the dice too many times and wound up getting a free ride to the infield care center after a huge crash with Rahal and Castro Neves. And as you noted,
what did I know?
You noted that DeFrancesco was pretty much involved with 3, right? So 3 separate incidents. First with Sato, right? He ruined Sato's day.
Correct.
Second, Kyle Kirkwood ruined Kirkwood's day. He moved up, right? Devlin had a bobble there. And lastly, the 3 wide with Rahal and Elio. I looked at that replay a couple of times because they played it right on NBC. I looked at that replay. He had no business dive bombing in that corner with Rahal and Elio. If you're paying even a little attention, you know that there's not a lot of room going into these corners. So he decided to assert himself into that bottom lane, got himself onto the apron, right, which is flat, and you're not going to control it there. Spins out Rahal, who spins out Castro Neves. All 3 of them are out. Now, we do have a quote or something that David Mulcher said, and you noted this from 10tenths.com. Quote, "Show me a driver who didn't make a handful of errors this year, and I'll show you someone who wasn't trying hard enough." Okay. Can we just stop with that, right? I don't understand this compulsion to like always give a pass to Devlin Defrancesco, right? Who comes to this car after finishing 6th in Indy Lights, and Kirkwood's at Foyt, Hinch is in the booth, and we got Devlin in there, okay, who we've been making excuses for. We've been talking up since the day they announced that he would be in there. I'm not saying he's unworthy of that ride, right? But what I'm saying is, dude, stop making excuses for people. It was a dumb move. He should have never been in there, and he made dumb moves all day. Okay? So just stop.
I like how fired up you are on that one.
Drives me nuts. Well, He's got
He put himself in a lot of
friend of the show.
I know he put himself in a lot of bad spots.
Yes.
Hopefully going forward, that's lesson learned and you won't see it again. Because otherwise you get a bad rap. If you get a bad rap, no one wants to race next to you.
No.
And then eventually you're on the sideline. So yeah, you do not want to be in any of those. You don't want to be in all three situations that happen within a span of 20 laps or whatever it was. It was pretty short, and be the guy that's sort of responsible for all those. So
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll take that one back and write it up on the wall and make sure it doesn't happen again.
He being Devlin, has since offered an apology on social media today. So good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him for doing that. But
yep.
To the rest of the IndyCar media, stop. My gosh.
I'm perplexed with Andretti. They're stretched maybe too thin with what they got going on in every single series they're in. You expect more out of that Andretti team, and
powerhouse team.
Nobody, in my opinion, delivered.
Nope. Nobody did.
You had an accident. You had 2 mechanical failures, and Herta comes through with a 12th.
Because he had fuel consumption problem, right? He was having to save fuel.
Yeah.
So he was dropping back. I don't know if that's a Andretti thing, or if that's a car setup thing, or if that's another missed fuel. Remember, because they had that in St. Pete, they didn't get them filled up. Or Honda. Exactly. Right? Makes you wonder.
You gotta wonder, right? I don't. Yeah, man.
Another team
figured out in Long Beach. They won last year in Long Beach, so
yeah,
we'll see what comes out.
Prestigious win too. Another team that perplexes me is Foyt, and that's who we move on to next. I have spent a lot of time bagging on this team for expanding to 3 cars, in spite of lackluster, and I'm being kind, results over the past number of years, right? With all that said, this team from where I sit has a fraction of the engineering support versus a team like, I don't know, Andretti or Rahal, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had a terrific race going with Kyle Kirkwood, who was all in on this thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Foot nailed to the floor till he crashed out on that restart near halfway. But we know that Kirkwood's a star, and we talked about that, right? Again, back to the Devlin thing. We know he's a star, but here's my question, right? Either he's transcending the team itself, or this year they finally got it sorted out, starting with the Chevy engine, which again, this is the Chevy episode, but starting with the Chevy engine, but Tim, it almost looks like they got it sorted out a bit.
Their qualifying was horrible too. They had the same qualifying results as Rahal.
Yeah, but finishes, right? Hildebrand, who, like your guy, right? Hildebrand was pressed into action. He knew he was coming in. 14th.
Yeah. And Kirkwood would have been in the top 10.
Yep.
Easily.
I think so, yeah. Dalton Kellett, 17th. Kirkwood finishes 25th because he tangled. Arrow McLaren, mess. Right?
Yeah.
A mess in Bahrain.
Qualifying was good.
In Texas.
Gosh.
Qualifying was great for Rosenquist. Award finishes 15th. Seems strong. Seems like he was in a lot of the right places, but he had some bad pit stops. Ran into a crew member. Not good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rosenquist finishes 21st. Heartbreak. He started on pole. I don't think he had enough to hold off the Penske's because he fell back right away. Right. But not being able to finish that race, finishing 21st, mechanical issue, you're noting it as a half shaft. Where have we heard that before? Same car, same team.
Yeah, we have.
In Long Beach. So either it's a problem with that car, however that
was contact though, right?
That
was not contact.
No,
I don't think so.
Either a problem with that car or, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy for saying this, but this is a thing, right? There's something in the way he's engaging that drive as they're dropping the car off the jacks in the pits that's breaking those half shafts.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
this is a
unfortunate.
team that's in a Chevy, has resources. Okay. 15th and 21st, mistakes and problems. They want to be
when you
top
have
team.
mistakes and you have mechanicals,
Yeah.
you're not going to finish well and you're not going to do well in the series. So they got to figure that out. They won the race last year with awards, so they had the setup, if you want to call it that, and just didn't come together.
Yeah.
And it was pit stops, and it was both drivers. It just wasn't one on the same pit sequence that they were both coming in under yellow. One hits their guy, one overshoots, and then they fall back in the lineup there. And then you've got the half shaft that breaks. But I was happy for Rosenquist taking the pole.
Me too.
That was really good. I wasn't thinking he was going to hold on to that, but he totally did. And I was happy for him. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out on race day. And that happens. And, they'll clean that up. I think they'll be much better here coming out. So,
yeah, I agree.
It'll be good.
Juncos is our last team, but not last place. 16th with Kellen Milot. Good, clean race. I like the look of that car.
You mentioned you like the color of the
green.
car.
I do. I like that green.
So I'm wearing
green
green for that.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm wearing it for you.
We had some stories that we talked about in our preview show going into this race. First one was rookies, and we've talked a lot about that. For the rookies that qualified in order, Defrancesco 17, Johnson 18th, Malukas 19, Ilott 20. Kirkwood was in 23rd. Grosjean was the best in this group. If you still want to consider Grosjean to be a oval rookie, he started 13th. But it was not Malukas or Kirkwood who would top this rookie class. It was Jimmy Johnson. So good for him. Again, not a hater. I want to see him succeed. I just feel like we're just giving him way too much leniency.
Yeah, I think we got Lundgaard though. Lundgaard was started 24th.
Oh yeah, Christian. Sorry, yeah, I forgot him. Yeah,
that's my guy, and you're leaving him off the list. I know why.
He's your guy because he's not Jack, and Jack's my guy.
Oh my god. So what's going to happen in Long Beach with Jack?
Jack, I know he's going to
run. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
And results?
Got to keep it out of the wall. We're done, right? Like you, Jack, we got to be done, right? Stop pressing. You earn that seat, despite what Tim says. You're going to put in results there. Let's just get on with it. Okay.
All right.
Let's repaint the damn car if we need to. Right. Let's do something different. But my gosh, I mean, right. Let's just move on. Right. Jack, don't press, don't push, take what you can get. Right. And that's it. Maximize your results.
So how smart, so I'm skipping around, but how smart is the Penske organization to go down to 3 cars? How smart do they look after 2 races?
Smart, but I think even if they had 4 cars still on the track, I think they'd still be killing it like this. Chevy engine, Penske preparation.
Well, you just mentioned last year and how up and down it was, and they had 4 cars.
Chevy engine, Penske preparation, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see the 7 cars circling, trying to bed in the track a little bit?
I missed that.
It was interesting. 45 minutes of that.
Can I say what I did see that sort of made me laugh?
Will Power was a proponent of that. So, hey, at least they tried something, right? I wish they had more tires and they had more people out there to do it, but at least they tried.
You know what I did see?
What'd you see?
I saw Marshall Pruitt rubbing his shoe on the track saying, it's pretty grippy here. It's pretty grippy there. I think based on my analysis, we're going to have a good second line.
Wow.
And I paraphrased that. And I was like, what is going on? But no, I missed the 7 cars going around. I'm glad you saw it. You saw it?
I did not see that at Marshall. Maybe if I did, I probably blocked it out. Who knows? What do you think of the crowd?
Did you see the 7? Oh my! As a fan, I was it was sickening. It was sickening to
Yeah.
the point
It looked okay.
that I felt,
I'm going to
for
put my
me,
hat
it was,
back on because I'm a Texas.
for me,
Motor
thank you
Speedway
for
fan.
putting the cowboy hat on. For me, it was, it almost took the excitement for me out of the start of the race. And I know I keep saying for me, because I
Mhm.
want to speak for myself only.
Well, yeah.
Because when you have the fanfare, you got the fans packed in there. Like, it just feels like an event. It didn't
Yes.
feel like an event. It felt like a test.
Oh, well, I was a little more optimistic than that. I don't know what the numbers were. It looked okay. Crowd looked okay. It's certainly not what it used to be. But I think, racing action and getting back to racing action. And I don't know who it was, but I saw it on social media a couple of times today. And I think it makes total sense. Stop saying that the action is terrible, because you're never going to get anybody to pay money to go there and see it. Because whether they know it or believe it or not, they're just going to be like, oh no, I hear the race is terrible.
Yeah, there were some suggestions based on the time slot, the day of the week, obviously on a Sunday.
Yeah.
It was interfering with masses and churches and all that good stuff in the Bible Belt. So it could have something to do with it. But and then I don't know what the promotion was. I wasn't down in Texas at all in the past 3 weeks to get fans to come. They're not doing the same stuff that they're doing in Iowa, which is a huge activation for concerts and all that. So I think you got to go back to Saturday midday to into the evening and maybe put some pizzazz around it. I was
that's interesting.
Devastated that there was so few people there.
Because that was part of that was the question I was going to ask you. I like this being in the spring. I like this being before Indy, and I like this being in the spring. As you know, I've gone to Texas quite a few times. I spend time there throughout the year. This is the most ideal climate for that to be, because Texas in July at 9 o'clock at night is still 90 degrees and humid. So, to me, I think this is a good time of year. 60s, 70s, sunshine, good time to be there. That's what I think.
Yeah, it looked beautiful from that perspective. But man, I wish the fans would have showed up.
Yeah, well, maybe they will. If this was the last year of that contract, so if IndyCar is able to come to agreement with Texas to carry on, maybe we'll see something. But we do have some positive news. Speaking of, our friend Marshall Pruitt tweeted out, and this was sourced by IndyCar. So 461 total passes, and 284 of those passes were for position. And this is more than the 2 races last year combined. So stop saying the racing.
There was some good passing on the high line.
There was some good passing. It's getting
every
there.
pass was earned. It wasn't just side by side running around, because there's grip everywhere. So I like that aspect. I don't like that and I don't think anybody does, that the corners are treated with whatever that liquid is that made it. Yep. That made it as slippery as it is. But it produced some good racing, and I was not very optimistic going in, and I was pleasantly surprised throughout the race. Yep.
I enjoyed it. Talk a little bit about silly season, which seems to start earlier and earlier every year. Pato O'Ward, no idea what's going on there. Was kind of surprised to hear that. Pato was talking about, looking and seeing or whatever. It happened to coincide with the announcement that Colton Herta would be running some free practice 1 sessions in Formula One with McLaren, which we know that Pato wants to go to Formula One in the worst way possible. Is this, Tim, overzealous management, team management, right? Overzealous management, like Pato's management, taking the team's temperature and taking other teams' temperatures to try to determine what the driver market is for Pato? Is that what you think this is?
Well, I think management made some deals behind closed doors, and people weren't aware of it, and it upset others. And they don't have a great reputation when it comes to communicating well with their drivers and sticking with their drivers and being in that situation where you I don't want to call it loyalty, but you have a mutual respect, if you will, and just make sure that the channels are open for communication. Everybody knows what's going on, because shortly after the Herta announcement, there's a lot of speculation going on, and a lot of people that seem to be unhappy with what transpired and how it came about, and people maybe not notified, what have you. And even I saw in social media somewhere, or maybe it was on the broadcast, that the question was asked, has Herta and Pato talked? And there was nothing, right? It was one of those awkward conversations with them. So that's their organization is more and more, you're thinking of how they interact with their people. And I think that'll rise more and more or maybe they'll fix it. Like if they keep doing what they're doing, I think there's going to be some drivers that are a little apprehensive to go with that organization.
Yeah, I agree with you there. 100% agree with you. Aaron McLaren does have a clause in their deal with Pato that they only have to match 80% of any offer that he might get. Arrow McLaren, of course, is quoted as saying that any doubts over Pato's future with the team is, quote, unfounded noise. I guess we'll see. Right?
Yeah, but it wasn't it Pato that sent the tweet out?
Right. Well, what isn't, we'll see. Right. We'll see how that works out. Maybe, if they put a good car under him, he gets some good results, then, all that stuff tends to go away. No greater example of that than the next guy that we're going to talk about, right? One, Alexander Michael Rossi may or may not be back at Andretti. Well, I know our friend Nathan Brown said in his own writing, as well as in a response to a tweet by me, Jimmy Johnson and Chip are happy with their collaboration, right? That to me is still dependent on how well the season finishes for Jimmy. Also, that's not the only seat at Ganassi. What I don't have in the notes here that I should probably back up and say is I've been saying all along, if Rossi leaves Andretti, I think his most natural place is Ganassi. I don't see Honda giving him up. I don't know that Shank would be going to 3 cars, which would be the next logical choice, right? If not Ganassi, but that's kind of staying in the Andretti family because of that technical alliance. So I don't know if Rossi would want to do that. So you got Jimmy Johnson, which again, Jimmy and Chip are happy with that collaboration. What the hell else are they going to say? Right? Come on. And then Dixon. You had Dixon retiring last year.
If and only if he won
the championship. Right. So you had but that's that. I don't know what the status of Palou, who's, the current defending series champion, and Erickson, who continues to post good results, right? There may not be room at the end there unless Chip goes to 5 cars or Jimmy decides to move on to his own thing, right? Maybe as a Jimmy Johnson racing with Chip Ganassi, and field his own team, maybe with his family of sponsorships. You never know. Who knows?
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. So all I know is it's bad for Rossi right now. Bad luck. Right? If it weren't for bad luck, he'd have no luck at all. So
that is true.
Yep.
And I don't see him back at Andretti. I'll just put it out there.
Me neither.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. And I would think he would get a seat in one of the top teams, but
who is a top team?
I don't know. It depends if the sponsors want to go. I don't know how many top teams there are now. It's so convoluted at the top. I know there's 2. I think we went from 3 to 2.
There's allegedly like 4.
That is the top 6 points are all Penske or Chip Ganassi.
Yep. Well, we know there's top 2. Hey, moving on. Formula One. Right. Did you see any of that race? I know you had a busy Sunday. Did you see any of that Formula One race?
Yeah, we got that one in before we had a bunch of company. So, yeah, I did see it. I saw most of it, not all of it.
Ferrari looks good, don't they? The car looks good.
They do, but it's the first race.
I think in Formula One, man, that means something. Coming out of the chute like that, I think that means something. I really do.
I think there's going to be a lot more development on those cars. So they're
Sure.
good right now. I was excited that they were winning and doing their stuff, and so I was happy to see it. But I'm not one to go, oh, they got this. There's going to be two teams for sure, and well, we'll just say two teams for sure that'll be hunting them down.
Yep. Ferrari took it right to Red Bull because Mercedes is still floundering a little bit. Charles Leclerc led this race wire to wire. Max's dominoes started to fall with a problem with his steering that Christian Horner was saying that might have been happened because of when they dropped him off the jack during one of the stops. So that was a problem. Then it was a power problem. Today we find out that it sounds like a fuel pump issue for both Max and Perez. But nevertheless, Ferrari won too. So good for them. Carlos Sainz was my pick for the win there, by the way. I've been saying that all along. But and then, this gifted a third place to Lewis Hamilton and a fourth place to George Russell in his first race. Well, his first real race for Mercedes.
Yeah.
So, that's a ton of luck.
I don't know if it's gifted. Mercedes, through perseverance, I think they got all they could out of that vehicle. And they did a great job. And man, I don't know how you, the second Red Bull, I don't know how you say that's a fuel pump you spin on the last lap, but whatever.
It said it locked up the engine. No fuel engine locked up. Oh, and that's what spun them.
I missed that.
Yep.
So no fuel to the engine, locked the rear end, and spun them around. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because he was out after that. So
okay.
Outside of these Red Bull miscues in the start of this season, I think to me the surprise of the weekend was Haas. Would you agree?
Love it.
It's crazy. I like it too, right? Because of course Gunther Steiner is my favorite character ever in the history of motorsport. Okay, but they were nowhere to be found last year. And they were, of course, transparent in the fact that they were waiting to get to this year because they were focusing all their efforts on this new car and these new regulations. It seems to have paid off, right? I don't know what kind of developmental capacity they have, but right, they look good right now. They look good right. And you know what? The Ferrari powered cars, not just Ferrari team, the Ferrari powered cars yesterday looked really good. They looked really good.
Yeah, totally.
Yep.
They've got the power plant beneath them in order to bring some straight line speed.
Yep. About a third of the way through this race, all the way through the end, I think you can say that the new car and the new regulations accomplished what they had hoped to do. And that was getting good, clean racing. And the racing was really good. I thought the race was really good yesterday. I thought it was exciting. It wasn't just a drive away. Max and Charles had a good, exciting back and forth there, right around that third mark. Overall, I would say one of the most exciting F1 races I've watched that were outside of just Red Bull and Mercedes.
Yeah.
I'm
going to be very superficial here. The one thing I didn't like, and this is really interesting, but the one thing I didn't like, whatever those winglet things over the front wheels, it throws me off. And every car has them, so it's part of the regulations, right?
It is.
And I'm waiting for a front tire to shred and just rip that thing off because I just want to pull it off the car. That's what I'm waiting for.
That's awesome. Just a few more lines.
Point, so hold on. To your point, very good race. No. I hesitated too long. So very good race. I saw most of it. Happy to see Ferrari up there. Bummed for Red Bull. That Honda power plant was fast down the straightaway, though. So if they get that fuel pump situation figured out, they're going to be good. And when they open that DRS, it to me looked like a 40-mile-an-hour difference. I know it wasn't, but coming from way back and coming up to make the pass.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see that it worked that well when they put that. I'll call it the lid up. I know it's this.
The DRS is the same slot size that it has been But in this new regulation with these new wings, it looks bigger. Like when it opens, it looks enormous.
Yeah.
But yeah. Can I move on now?
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Dan.
IMSA. I didn't get a chance to watch too much. Did you watch a lot of the 12 hours of Sebring? I don't think you did. I think you had a busy weekend.
Maybe 2 hours. Is that more than you?
Yeah, that is actually. I felt bad for, my loving bride because she got, I think, more motorsport doses this weekend than I think she bargained for. So I couldn't sit in front of 12 hours of Sebring after being in front of everything else.
I get it.
After 2 hours of IndyCar practice with the 7-car thing and then actual practice on top of watching qualifying and everything else. So I couldn't do that to her. But nonetheless, weather looked nice. Racing looked terrific from the limited time I spent watching. Mort, who's a friend of ours, was on site with his son, BHB. He said it was like 88 degrees, super hot. So obviously coming from Michigan, you're nowhere near ready for that kind of weather, but it looked really good. Just want to note 2 things. First, if you're not spending time developing your damper program, don't go to Sebring. Okay. Because it looks on camera super bumpy. So I can only imagine that inside the car, it's alarming. All right. Because you got to run those things low and stiff.
It's an old military base.
Is that what it is? I didn't know that. No.
It's an old military base. It's an aircraft. It used to be part of the Air Force, and part of those areas they're riding on are 80 plus years old.
I love it. Timmy fun fact.
And it looks like it.
Mm-hmm. Not only looks it, but it also looks super narrow too, right? And we went to Daytona this year. We were at Mid-Ohio a couple years ago to see IMSA. And when the field starts spreading out and you have all these different classes coming through that narrow track, this thing, it was 12 hours of Sebring. It probably felt like 24 hours of Sebring with all the action and everything else that you were dodging through that thing.
Yeah.
Right. It was busy.
And what I saw was I was watching the Montoyas. I wanted to see father and son and how they did, and they got caught up in that accident. Juan did. Yeah,
Juan got knocked out like almost immediately after coming out, right, for his stint.
Yeah. After his son has already did his first stint, and then
how cool is
came
that?
Out, and unfortunately, what's that?
How cool is that?
It is cool.
Being a professional
it's
race
good to
car
watch.
Son, yeah,
and it's great storyline. Maybe better than Jimmy Johnson, but whatever. But I'm curious where that kid's gonna go.
Me too.
What he's gonna drive, and
apparently
he's good. His dad was really good.
He's got a full-time ride. You know who doesn't?
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, congratulations to Cadillac Chip Ganassi, the O2, which is of course my favorite, right? Because it's got the livery that has the shade of burgundy across the back of it. So as an aside, this is the car that Kevin Magnussen would have been in had he not decided to go back to Haas.
If our listeners don't know, you now know Dan drives a burgundy car.
Yeah, I love burgundy. It's my favorite color car.
Yeah, it's so that Cadillac is right up his alley.
Right up my alley. Yep. So I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. NASCAR, congratulations to William Byron and Hendricks Motorsports, who takes 3 of the first 5 races with 3 different drivers this season.
It's awesome.
Good for them. So that's all I got, Tim. I'm all talked out. I'll let you have the final word.
We got to talk about Kevin Magnussen.
Go ahead.
Because you had said in here in the notes that Kevin Magnussen would have been in that winning car. Do you think he has any regrets after the Haas?
Nope.
Finish and what that car could do?
None.
And Haas is 3rd in the championship for F1.
It's one race. I think even if he'd finished 10th, I think he'd have no regret. I think this is where he wants to be.
Yeah. 5th in Bahrain.
Yep. I think that's where
we had to include that because I thought that was
totally agree.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right. Is that it?
That is it. Before we sign off and we say until next time, I just want to wish a very happy birthday to LB. So I hope you guys have a great evening, and give her our best from the Maldonados. So until next time. So we have a Formula One race in a week's time. We're not going to podcast about that specifically And then, of course, Long Beach comes up April 10th. So we'll have a pre-show and we'll have a post-show or a pre-race.
I got the schedule up here. I could probably look at it.
And a post-race. Go ahead.
It's April 10th.
There you go.
3:00 Eastern.
Yep.
On NBC.
So we will have a show on April 4th and we'll have a show on April 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Preview and review. So that's it. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, be sure to engage with us on social media. Consider becoming a Patreon supporter of this podcast. We do it. We love to do it. We're not doing this to make money. We're not necessarily do that, but of course there are certain costs involved with being able to deliver the show to you. And we love delivering this content. So be sure to check us out on Twitter, our Instagram, and our website. All links listed in the show notes. So until next time, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.